This is a June update on my 112-gallon Average Reef. I have made more changes again this month, adding a few new pieces of rock, and continuing on with slight improvements. There's actually close to a dozen new pieces in the tank, although you wouldn't know that looking at the tank from this full tank view, since most of them are just tiny frags. Despite the tank being jam-packed, somehow there's always room for more. First we'll look at the new pieces here. These pieces of live rock came from my frag tank sump. They are indeed live rock, although they haven't been exposed to light in quite some time. I don't think it'll be very long until they color up. I've got some chalices, cyphastreas, and favias on this rock. There's not a lot of light in this corner. This is actually the ugly forgotten corner of the tank. The glass here is kind of scratched up too, and it's dimly lit. But I think these corals will be fine here. Worst case, I will either add another light or adjust my lights so they're spaced out a little bit better. I'm particularly pleased with that purple favia, as I had a colony of it maybe 10 years ago, and I recently tracked down that frag. The view here is not great, but it's definitely an improvement from what it used to be. I do have some other corals on this side, which I hardly ever notice since they're so tucked away in the corner there. Now this side is still my favorite view. You can see I'm making use of all 18 inches front to back. I took this right at sunset so you can see the big open field in the background too. Some of the other new pieces have been placed somewhat creatively. You would hardly know there's a chalice frag there if you didn't look right in. It looks like it's getting no light at all, but you have to remember these leathers do expand and contract quite a bit, so particularly when the lights first come on, they're in direct light. I put it on a big white tile in case there's an issue. It will be very easy to remove despite the fact it's tucked way in there. You can see I've got corals touching the front of the glass, corals touching the back of the glass. Here's another one that's tucked away. Again, the toadstool does expand and contract quite a bit. My micromusas and other LPS are doing quite well. This area was cleaned up recently and the corals are definitely looking better. For the most part, I have really tried to move things around so that they have at least a tiny bit of space between them. I've been fortunate not to lose too many corals due to touching other corals, considering how packed the tank is. But if you look at this Elegance and Duncan's, they're getting real close, and I don't know how much longer I can keep them separate. There's a few more new pieces here. This is the Bizarro Cyphastrea, which will hopefully encrust over those annoying little clove polyps. Another new encruster, this is Stylosyneta, which is a new species to me, which I'm quite excited to have. Hopefully it too will encrust soon over the rock there. So this toadstool here has been raised up about an inch. It looks kind of silly like that, but it actually helps a lot with shading. The Blastomusa colony there is certainly happy not to be resting directly against it anymore. And I just barely squeezed that branching Cyphastrea into the very corner. That's just a temporary solution. It probably will touch the glass soon, despite being a super slow grower. But I can just barely get the flipper magnet between it and the glass. The other slight improvement I did is I swapped out my 5-year-old Jabo pump. Yes, it lasted 5 years with a coral box. They're basically the same thing. This one just has slightly more power. The reason I swapped it was no longer working on pulse mode, and I prefer to have that wave across the tank. Overall, I'm quite happy with how the reef is looking. It's jam-packed. And it's looking good, but I'm always looking at ways to improve the tank as a whole. Thanks for watching, and happy reefing.